Sonic Mania.
Oh man, I love Sonic. Man, ever since I was a kid, I played with my Sonic action figures. Back in 2009.
Dear God, he smells like death drenched in Axe cologne. I should try to get him away.
My favorite game in the franchise has to be Sonic Adventure 2. If only they had stuck with the adventure formula, then everything would be better.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to go. Later.
Wait! You don't seem too convinced by my opinion!
Look, man. I'm not too big of a fan of the Sonic Adventure games, but you enjoy what you enjoy, Alright, later.
You don't like Sonic Adventure 2? What the hell's wrong with you?
I just don't like the game, man. You can put the gun down.
If you don't like Sonic Adventure 2, then you don't deserve this!
Hey, man, what gives you the right to...
You want this Switch back? Well, I've got a proposition for you. You're gonna make me a review, a Sonic Adventure 2 review. And you're gonna give it to your film class. You're gonna make it for the film class. Then you're gonna give it to me. And if you don't give it to me by next Thursday, well, boy, you can say bye-bye, Switchy!
So I'm going to assume that most of you don't live under a rock and probably know a little bit about the series Sonic the Hedgehog. For better or for worse.
Boo! You stink!
You see, back in 1991, Sega wanted a mascot for their Sega Genesis to compete with the like of Nintendo's Mario, where then they would go on to create Sonic the Hedgehog, who is all about that blast processing.
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Super Nintendo doesn't. So what's blast processing do? What if you don't have blast processing?
Oh, Sega, you naive fool. To say that Sonic has fallen from grace is an understatement. No, back in 2006, with the release of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 for the Xbox 360, Sonic should have died. But he didn't. I feel this fluctuation of quality all started ever since the Sega Saturn.
Introducing Sega Saturn. Aww, hit it! Sega's next-generation gaming platform, revolutionary sports and arcade gameplay, all with amazing new 3D experiences never before possible on home game systems.
You see, when games were starting to go into 3D, people were starting to look at Sonic the Hedgehog. But however, on the Sega Saturn, that didn't really happen. Sure, there were games that featured Sonic, but there wasn't really a mainline title. At least we have Sonic R, which is garbage. Sega was starting to lose money fast because of the Saturn's failure. So Sega decided to try again with the Sega Dreamcast and actually made not one, but two Sonic games, the Sonic Adventure series. Despite the Dreamcast actually being a really great console, it ended up falling short due to the PlayStation 2's release, therefore causing Sega to become a third-party developer company. And this is where I think the developers' Sonic team just decided not to really care anymore, and then they just started releasing these mediocre to bad titles. And Sega doesn't really care, because Sonic sells copies. I mean, think about it. Sonic is recognizable. He's an important gaming mascot. That alone gives you fans. That alone gives you copies to sell. So Sega knows that they could just do whatever with the Blue Hedgehog because kids and fans alike will just end up buying it. I mean, look at the last 3 titles that Sega ended up releasing.
I can spin upward using this ramp. Rings are life, baby. I bet that pressing this button will do something. There's sand everywhere. Green Hill's looking a lot more like Sand Hill right now.
Wow, I just saw 3 completely different games. Well, that's because Sonic Team doesn't really know what to do with Sonic. Does it want to be Mario Galaxy? Does it want to be like one of the only good 3D games, Sonic Generations? Or does it want to be whatever this abomination was trying to be? Look, the point is, Sonic Team doesn't really know what to do with Sonic the Hedgehog. And neither does the fans. After the release of Forces, I keep seeing a lot of these debates coming up how, oh, Sonic should just go back to the Adventure formula, because the Adventure series were so beloved by many.
Sonic Adventure 2 is nearly 17 years old now, and yet this game is still regarded to be one of the best 3D Sonic games. But why? Why is this game so beloved even for its age? Well, that's where I come in to see why.
Okay, let me get this out of the way before I start this review. Do I like Sonic Adventure 2 fully as a video game?
No!
Now, if you grew up with this game, hear me out, okay? Because I don't want my hard work to be spent on nothing. So without further ado, let's start with the story. Sonic Adventure 2 is split up into two stories, the hero side and the dark side. You complete both of them, you get the conclusion of the story. I'll be combining both of these sides the best I can. Dr. Eggman one day sneaks into a gun military base, the universe's equivalent to the United States military, after hearing about his grandfather's secret project, an ultimate life form. He then uncovers this ultimate life form, who dubs himself as Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow then tells Eggman about his grandfather's secret invention, the Ark, a space cannon that has the ability to wipe out planet Earth if powered by 7 Chaos Emeralds, which was shut down 50 years ago by Gun, an incident which caused the death of Dr. Gerald Robotnik's granddaughter and Shadow's friend, Maria. Eggman soon boards the Ark and threatens Earth that if they don't surrender, Eggman will destroy the planet, and he fires a warning shot to the moon. Oh my god. Sonic in the beginning of the hero side story is arrested by Gun because they mistake him for Shadow. Yeah, I know, it's really f***ing stupid. Anyways, after confronting Shadow, who has a Chaos Emerald, Sonic tries to stop him, but Shadow then uses Chaos Control to escape. Sonic is then arrested again by Gun, but then his friends come to Prison Island to save him. So now it's up to Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, who is kind of shoehorned into this plot, to stop Eggman and Shadow and save the world. It's all based on a true story. Oh boy, where do I begin? Well, story-wise, I think it can be entertaining, but there's a lot of plot holes. Like, you mean to tell me 50 years ago Gun shut down the Ark, and yet it's still up in space? Why haven't they blown up this thing? Also, there's a scene where Tails has this fake Chaos Emerald to try to shut down the Ark, but when Sonic tries to trick Eggman into using it, Eggman ends up capturing Sonic and then throwing him out into space to blow up. And then Sonic uses the fake Chaos Emerald to perform Chaos Control to escape. I'm sorry, but when did Sonic learn how to use Chaos Control? You mean to tell me that Sonic just looked at Shadow doing it and he's like, oh, okay, that's easy. I could go on and on with these plot holes, but this is due on a Thursday. Also, something that I don't like is these weird tone shifts. Like, there's a child that literally gets shot by the military. A child. In a Sonic the Hedgehog video game. These tone problems get worse like throughout the entire series, but god damn, you have to really watch out what you do with tone. Because if you just have these weird tone shifts and you're not Yakuza, it gets really awkward to say the least. Believe me, I know from personal experience.
It's okay, man. I'll just put the money in. Here's your parking ticket.
This man, although he committed a crime, did not deserve what you did to him.
But he was armed.
It's a BB gun.
He was still armed with a weapon.
Also, dear god, this presentation. Let's just say that Sonic Team isn't going to get any good grades in Mr. Frank's film class anytime soon. I can forgive the bad animation. I'm not expecting something Pixar-like, especially for a game this old. But I'm talking about the sound quality. Oh dear God, the sound quality. Here, if you want to know how bad it is, here's an unedited footage of a cutscene.
I believe they're following the signal from the emerald. If I'm not mistaken, this is the Master Emerald, is it not? Dr. Eggman.
So that's Dr. Eggman.
Well, I guess something. I'll just take it with me. Farewell, knucklehead.
I am so sorry that you had to watch that, Mr. Frank.
Look, I understand if you want a more story-rich plot unlike the Mario games, and that's fine, you know? You can have an entertaining plot. I was entertained by Adventure 2's plot just for how bad it was, you know? But you can actually tell Sonic Team wanted to be serious about this. And if you don't believe me, just look at 06 and Shadow the Hedgehog and just look how bad those are and how edgy they were. You can't make Sonic edgy. You can't, alright? At the end of the day, you can have an entertaining plot that's funny and well written, but you have to also remember that it's a story about a blue hedgehog trying to stop a fat scientist with his yellow fox friend and a red echidna who has cheesy rap music playing throughout his entire levels.
You know me, the fighting freak Knuckles, and we're at Pumpkin Hill. You ready? I ain't gonna let it.
Sonic Adventure 2 has up to 6 playable characters, and by 6, I mean 3. Shadow plays like Sonic, Eggman plays like Tails, Rouge plays like Knuckles. It's just they all go through different levels respectively. I only want to go into greater detail with Sonic and Shadow's levels because Tails, Eggman, Rouge, and Knuckles are a waste of my time.
Let's first cover Knuckles and Rouge.
Knuckles and Rouge has treasure hunting levels. The objective is to find 3 pieces of whatever, and then get them by either finding them or digging them. Why is this in a Sonic game? I don't know. But that's not why these levels are infamous, no. You see that thing on the bottom? That's your radar. It'll go off whenever you're near one of these things. Alright, cool. However, it can only detect one at a time, and it will only detect whatever the game decides which one it wants you to find. This means you could be gliding around the level like an idiot and going completely past one of these emerald pieces without even knowing it. So don't be surprised if these levels take a very, very, very long time to complete. These levels suck. They suck really bad, and the level design rarely accommodates this. The levels are either way too big or way too narrow. You wanna know why Mad Space is hated so much? Because this level's huge. This might as well be the actual universe. The first time playing this, I took 20 minutes. 20 minutes! In the classic games, when you took 10 minutes on a level, you just die. If your level goes on longer than the timeout period of the classic games, you have failed as a Sonic level. You know what sucks even more? The Tails and Eggman stages. Tails and Eggman walks on mechs, and they shoot things that are in front of them and then get to a goal. The platforming in these levels are super basic. Way too basic, actually. Not to mention, the shooting also sucks. You see, Tails and Eggman, they just lock on everything, so you don't have to aim. And the enemies, they rarely fire at you, so there's not even a challenge. And every time you aim at something, you have to hear a really high-pitched noise. In my opinion, these levels are probably worse than the Knuckles and Rouge stages. They're too drawn out, they're too mind-numbing, and they're so boring. Also, they control really bad. Every time that Tails or Eggman has to turn around, it feels like nails on a chalkboard. It doesn't feel right. And they're so slow. They are really slow. Why is this in a Sonic game? I can maybe understand it for Eggman because he's always like inventing machines and whatever, but why is Tails in a mech? What is wrong with you? You have the ability to fly. Why aren't you, flying? I don't understand why Knuckles and Tails are even like this to begin with. You wanna know what Knuckles did back then in the classic games? He was a little bit slower than Sonic, and he couldn't jump as high as Sonic, but he can glide. That's cool. Tails, well, he has the ability to fly, which was cool. I don't see why Tails and Knuckles didn't have Sonic-like stages, just like in the classic games, because that's all Tails and Knuckles were. They were just variations of Sonic that catered to different playstyles. Why are they stuck to these mind-numbing, boring levels? Keep in mind, this is 4 out of the 6 characters that you are playing, which means 2/3 of the game is this. And that's why I don't like Sonic Adventure 2 fully. 2/3 of the game is this. I don't want to play this. I want to do what Sonic does. You know, run really fast. So now that's out of the way, how are the Sonic levels like? You know, in the Sonic video game. Well, actually, they're okay. Sonic moves surprisingly well in a 3D space. His acceleration isn't too fast where it's impossible to steer him, but yet he doesn't go too slow to be mistaken for that Mario guy. Sonic now has this thing called the homing attack, where basically if you jump up and you're near an enemy, just a quick tap of the A button and Sonic will end up just homing right into it. I think it's a really nice feature, it keeps the pace flowing. Most of the levels are pretty fun, except Pyramid Cave. That one kind of sucks. But for the most part, they can be entertaining. However, something's missing. To figure out what exactly is missing, I'm gonna have to go look back into a game. A special game. It was like one of my favorites last year. Sonic Mania. Oh my god, I love this game. I bought this game 3 times actually. I have no life. Sonic Mania perfectly encapsulates what I truly love about the classic games. And also it was made by people with actual talent. So what's this mysterious thing that I'm talking about? Well, let's look into the first level, Green Hill Zone. You see, people who blindly hate on this franchise think that Sonic is all about holding right to win. And well, that's not really true. You see, I can go on this normal pathway to the goal like I'm supposed to, but wait, when I was going around this loop, I saw a power-up up there. So, I decided to go up there, and look, there's some platforms that if I jump on, I get a few rings. That's pretty cool. In Act 2 of Green Hill Zone, there's this fire shield right over here, okay? If I keep it long enough, there's this breakable wall near at the end of the act. And if I break it, I have invincibility. Now we meet our boys at Chemical Plant Zone. Here I am, I'm zipping along, and then I hit a spring and go down this pathway, but whoa. I can go into that dirty water, but I don't really feel like getting my feet wet. Especially when I saw that there was something up there that I could go through. So I decided to backtrack and go up there, and look, there's some rings. Now that's good. You see, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call non-linear level design. I'm always aiming for a goal, but the path that I take to the goal is up to me. And that's what I love about classic Sonic. It's always the fact that I can go off the beaten path and the game rewards me for it. It's never been about just going fast through the level, but it's always been about how you get through that level. Because there's all these different pathways in these levels that can give you potential rewards, it adds a lot of replay value into the game. I can always visit back to any one of these levels, take a different pathway, and then find something new. Even if you decide to go through a whole exploration playstyle, the game will still reward you with a sense of speed. Because Sonic Mania builds their levels around slopes and inclines. The game always slows you down for a bit, so then you can build that momentum. So then when you go down a hill, you go really fast, and it's always satisfying. It's kind of like a roller coaster, you know? Oh, and let me tell you, this game is especially good on the go. So why do I bring this up? Well, that's because unlike in the classic games, Sonic Adventure 2 is more linear in design. There's no alternate pathways. You just go from point A to point B. All those little goodies that you can find in a classic game, things like that are just practically given to you. Now granted, in these levels you can find secrets every now and then, but in structure, you still only go through one pathway. Now I'm not saying linearity is a bad thing. And making everything open-ended in an open world with meaningless rewards just scattered around it isn't always a good idea. However, when it comes to Sonic, the more linear structure kinda butchers the game. What made the classic games always so satisfying was because of those multiple pathways. It always gave me something to come back to. Here in Sonic Adventure 2, I go through one level, and I've seen everything. And I think this is why people think Sonic is hold right to win. Because people look at games like this and they think this is what Sonic is, a hold right to win linear adventure. Or in this case, up, down, left, right. There's not a time to breathe and gain that momentum. You're just flung in, and then you go through speed boosters, and then in like 2 minutes you beat the level. And after those 2 minutes, you've seen everything. My favorite level in this game is Final Rush, because in Final Rush, there's all these multiple pathways that you can go to. If you take certain pathways, you can find some goodies. Now that reminds me of classic level design. This level was awesome. It gave me a sense to come back. It gave me a sense to explore, and I still get to go really fast because of the rail grinding physics. I wish more levels were like this instead of just a straight line.
So I don't get it. Why do people call this game the best 3D Sonic game when it's not even faithful to the original games, it's buggy as hell, and 1/3 of the game doesn't even feature Sonic in Sonic's Adventure?
That's no good.
Well, I think I might have an answer.
Sonic has always been advertised around speed and spectacle. It's just a must-have for the series. Sonic always has to be looking cool. There was no other platformer at the time that made you just go around through a loop. That was so foreign to people. I think maybe Sonic Team knew at that time that they couldn't make a non-linear based Sonic game. So what did they do? Make everything look as cool as possible. Now I see. You see, Sonic Adventure 2, although that they are very linear in design, they have to fill up that linearity with something cool and eye-popping. The first level, City Escape, literally starts you on note to the level's theme, street snowboarding down San Francisco. Then you go through a loop and down a building, and then you get chased by a giant truck. It was things like these that made Sonic Adventure 2 very memorable. And the soundtrack, oh my god. The soundtrack. Sonic Adventure 2's soundtrack might as well be the best soundtrack that I have ever heard in a video game. It's mostly composed of rock music, and while that can sometimes be tiresome to the ears, it's just the song composition in every track makes it absolutely unforgettable. The only reason why I remember Metal Harbor so well was because of the theme song that played. I mean, just listen to this theme song and tell me that you don't love it. You can't. It's impossible. See what I mean? The music just speaks right for me. And this is why I think Sonic Adventure 2 is so well regarded. It's because of nostalgia.
People always talk about the positive things about Sonic Adventure 2 when they're talking about it, but they never really focus on the negative sides of this game. Because it's really hard to look at something negatively with something that you grew up with. It's nostalgic bias. Hell, even I can be a little bit nostalgic bias at times. Like, take Super Mario Sunshine, for example. I'm not saying it's a bad game, but it has some criticisms to be shared.
The story sucks. The game is rushed in some areas. And there's these weird difficulty spikes in this game. Yet even with these flaws, I still love this game. Because as a kid, I didn't even realize these problems were even there. I was just happy that I was basically playing a sequel to Super Mario 64. That's why I was so happy playing Super Mario Odyssey, because it delivered me what I remember. Because in a time where it seemed like Nintendo was streamlining Mario games, they went back to the 64 and Sunshine formula. And the game was really good. Sonic Team is not making good video games. It's no wonder that fans are just hoping for like another adventure style video game, because in every game, Sonic is always changing mechanics. Fans want to return to the 3D ground roots because most fans grew up with it, and they want to see it improve with the current technology we have. And most of these problems are just fat that you just have to cut out. Remove the Tails and Knuckles stages, give Sonic more levels, make the story not a fan fiction, make sure it doesn't come out buggy, and make the levels a little bit bigger so that way there's a chance for multiple pathways. And if it's all executed well, it could be a great game. Earlier in this review, I said Sonic should have died in 2006. However, he didn't. Because fans remember, one time, Sonic used to mean something. They hold those memories of City Escape. They hold those memories of Metal Harbor. Hell, even some of them hold memories of Pyramid Cave, and I hate that stage. I may not respect Sonic Adventure 2 fully as a video game, but I can respect it for one thing. I can respect Sonic Adventure 2 for making people fall in love with what was once a well-respected franchise. But hey, overall, that's just my opinion.
Here, it's done. Here, you can watch it.
Something's missing!
What am I missing? You didn't even watch the video, you just sniffed it like an idiot.
You're missing the Gel Garden! That means your filthy project is unfinished!
I knew I was forgetting something.
Now you ain't ever gonna get your Switch back.
What the hell is that?
No. It's too late.
Simon, did you get your project done?